Hey guys, welcome to week 2, episode 2 of my podcast. I kind of want to start doing this as a weekly event. Um, you know, doing that first podcast was kind of it's weird when you start new content streams, you start new things. Uh, it's honestly kind of scary. You know, when I first hit record on the very first video I shot, I was so nervous. I just kind of felt not myself. And then even when I started doing the shorts, I kind of felt that way too. And then I did the live streams, and then I got a little comfortable after that. So just kind of having this format is going to be unique to my channel. A lot of my videos, I kind of just talk a lot, and again, this is like a format that I can just be myself and talk. And if you guys want to listen to what I have to say, then you can stay on and listen to the things I talk about. So I want to start doing this as a weekly occurrence. I'm gonna probably try to get these out every Tuesday, because that kind of gives me Monday to kind of move things around and be able to, you know, think of a topic I want to talk about. These first two episodes have been about my book. You know, last week writing my book, and then this week going through all the reviews and edits of it. And I'll be honest, when I first started this channel, like, the goal was to kind of make these impacts on people that need it. And honestly, that's what I want to be for people. Is I've gone through a great deal of adversity in my life. I've dealt with the family court system. I've been in the military. I've dealt with trauma, and I've dealt with abuse and all that. And I want people to know that, like, you're not a prisoner of the things that you've gone through in your life. Yes, you can go through bad things, and good things can still happen for you. And honestly, I think that going through tough times makes going through the tough times makes the better times even better, because you can truly appreciate what you have in front of you. Whereas people that have been handed everything in their lives, they don't really appreciate, or at least they might not appreciate it as much as somebody that didn't have those things. So my goal is to kind of just talk to those people that are feeling kind of helpless. I wrote this book. I talked last week about, like, having the moment of clarity that, I told myself that it was time that I can finally come to terms with my life the way it's been. When I first started, I've always had this mindset of wanting to write a book. And it's like, I've always felt there's a lot of things in my life that are stuff I want to talk about, that I think that could help people. And I think the hardest part about doing it is, like, thinking about the concept of it. Like, you're like, I know I wanna talk about these things because I think it could be beneficial to people. But, like, organization wise, it's difficult to, like, figure out how you're gonna organize it, like what path you're gonna take, what story you're gonna tell. And I think one of the things I found to be hard is trying to find my voice in my writing, because, like, I think I have a very specific way of talking. Like, I didn't do well in high school. I got my college degrees, but, like, I definitely wasn't a scholar in college. I had to work for everything I had, and I kind of worked my way from the bottom and had to work really hard to be average. So my voice is very specific. Like, I don't want my book to be like I sound like a scholar, and then you come onto my YouTube and you watch my videos and you're like, that doesn't sound like the person. Like, I don't feel like I'm reading the words of the person I'm listening to. And my goal for this book is, I want it to sound like, if you're reading the words, you can hear me talking them. And I think that's important, because I think a book needs to have a voice, and it needs to have, like, a certain perspective. And honestly, like, and another way is, I kind of needed to wait till this point in my life to be able to write the book, because, at this point in my life, the success is starting to come. Like, I've been in a great job for about 3 years now, and I can finally say that this is my lifelong career, and this is what I can do for the rest of my life. And I can be a provider, and I can lead a good life doing this. And all that stuff didn't happen overnight. And I think if I tried to write this book prior to that, I wouldn't have the, I guess I wouldn't have the full arsenal of all the stuff I've gone through. So like, I always talk about like the wisdom versus knowledge stuff. And like, I think when you know things, like it's important to be able to share that with people. But I think it's hard for it to resonate with people when you're just telling them. I think when you've actually lived through things, and why are you looking like that? So one of the benefits of filming a podcast is sometimes your dog wants to be the star of the show. So if you see him back there, he likes to play fetch. So that's Rocky. I do have a couple videos on him. Okay, so back. Sorry for the distraction. So back to like the writing the book. I didn't want it to be just about the adversity and the things that I faced in that time frame. Because everybody goes through bad times, and I think just me doing a story about bad things I had without the success arc, and honestly, it's not like my success is not like I didn't become a star. I didn't become a Hollywood legend. I didn't become like a CEO of my company. I rose pretty high to be in a good place in my company, but I wouldn't say I'm like the top. But I think that's not what it's about. I think what success is about is being able to work towards something and being able to be proud of the work and the stuff that you're doing. And honestly, like, I finally felt like I was at a place where, I can take a step back and I can look at my life and I can be proud of the things that I've done from where I've come from. None of the stuff that I have was ever promised to me. It's not like I had like a silver spoon in my mouth and like if I just coasted, I would get here. I had to put the work in, and I feel like at many points in my life, I feel like I was tested by God, and at any point I could have crumbled, and I could have fallen, and I chose not to. I chose to get up and I chose to fight, even like when things didn't seem like they were going to work out. And I think that's why it's important for me to have waited till I got to this point in my life where I feel like my story can be an inspiration to somebody else because they can see their lives, they can see parts of themselves in my journey and my hardship, and they can correlate with their own life and they can find ways of getting out of the holes that they're in. And that's honestly all I want for people is, it's the same concept of when I started this channel. Like I think every content creator that starts, I think they want the idea of blowing up, and they want the idea of being able to quit their job and to be able to make their money off YouTube. And honestly, that's once I started and I realized the value that I had to give to it. I realized that like chasing that pipe dream is not something that's gonna like. That's not gonna be a success to me. That's not gonna be a career to me. Like I would say, YouTube is definitely a part-time job for me, like content creation, and I do my dad jokes every single day, and I try to share a little humor and a little light with the world, and hopefully I can make a couple people laugh and change the direction of somebody's day just from a simple laugh. And hopefully some of the things I've gone through and the lessons I teach, whether it be in the family court system or if it be about being in foster care or going through grief and loss, like I want to be able to make those connections. So for me, it's not necessarily about the quantity of the connections. It's more about the quality. The way I look at it, and honestly, the reason why I'm making this book and the reason why I have this channel, yes, it's to help dads, and yes, it's to help parents, but I think ultimately my goal is to help the kids that are going to feel the benefits of what I'm talking about. Like I want the parents that are watching this, I want them to be able to take something away from this and they can see their child in a different light, and they can understand that the things they do and the things they say and the way they react, all that stuff matters when it comes to raising your kids and making them a better person. Ultimately, I want to save as many kids from having to go through the type of circumstances and situations and scenarios that I did. And honestly, that would mean the world to be able to help some of those kids to be able to escape from those things. By the way, I hope it doesn't distract you with my dog just staring at us in the background. so, so back to writing this book. My goal ultimately is to be able to help people be able to break chains of what they believe is ordained for them to be. Like, the book is for the people that feel like they don't have a way out, and that whatever 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 they came from, their family, their ancestors, their family situation, like, I want people to feel like you have the ability to change the directions your life goes. Now, it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to take hard work and dedication and determination, but if you're willing to put the hard work in and you're willing to stay positive in the moments where you think everything in the world is against you and you can somehow make it through those things, I think that says tremendous things about who you are and your character. And especially if you're a parent watching this, like, the thing that really got me was, you know, I talk a lot on my channel about, I grew up in poverty, and I grew up with a, a physically present father, but an emotionally absent father. And a lot of things that made a lot of things in my life very difficult to navigate, especially in early years, because I didn't have that positive role model. Like, I didn't have the man teaching me to how to take care of myself, like how to carry myself in every day, how to interact in scenarios and situations, and how to talk to people. That was kind of stuff I had learned growing up, and talking to teachers, talking to coaches, talking to drill sergeants, or NCOs, or officers, or co-workers, or leaders. Like, I had to kind of accumulate the things I've learned about life from multiple sources. Like, I didn't have that one source that gave me the firm foundation to be able to excel early in life. And that's kind of what I want people to understand, is that, like, you don't get to choose the cards that you're dealt with. And honestly, if you're dealt a hard hand early in life, it's shitty, because when you're a child, you're stuck being a child. Like, you can't escape it. Like, the only thing you can do is wait it out, wake up every day, make every day a little bit better, and hopefully once you get to the end of the journey, you turn 18 and you can start living your own life. Hopefully at that point, you can start making positive changes that take your life in a different direction than they started. Um, and that's honestly what this book is about, is like going through those early years, going through the traumas, going through the things that shaped me and kind of changed me as a person, and led me to finding my purpose and my why. I think a lot of these things happened when I became a father. Like, obviously, I graduated college before my son was born, but I think the moment I became a father, like, my life just changed. I tell this story about becoming a dad, and, like, truthfully, I didn't know you could love another human being as much as you love your child. Like, when I met my son, I literally cried. Like, it's a really weird emotion. When you lay eyes on your child for the first time, and you're just overwhelmed with this love that you just can't describe. Like, I remember, like, I'm like, I just met this person, and there's already nothing I wouldn't do for him. And I think that's a kind of love that changes you, and it gives you new direction, and it gives you a greater purpose. Every day I go into work, I have pictures of my son all over my desk. And the one thing I put, and it's crazy, because, like, the pop culture thing, like, if you read my book, there's a lot of pop culture in there. There's a lot of movie references, there's a lot of show references. I think there's a lot of stuff in there that, like, even through bad times, you'll read it and you'll be like, I gotta give it to him. That was a good trope. That was a good innuendo. Um, and that's the thing is like my book has a lot of heavy topics in it, but it's down to earth, and a lot of lessons come out of those hard times. So, but oh yeah, so the pop culture thing. Um, there's like things in shows and movies like sometimes like they have the ability to stand out, and really really connect with you in a way you didn't think was imaginable. And I remember there was an episode of The Simpsons where I think like when Homer was working and like they always thought that he didn't care, and I don't know why stuff like this gets me emotional. Like, uh, they always thought like Homer didn't care that things weren't important to him. But then when they went to his desk at work, it had the pictures of Lisa and the kids, and it said, "Remember what this is all for," and just like little things like that. Like if you look at my fridge when I was going through my custody battle, and I was going through a lot of tough times. Like I have pictures of my son all over my house. Like you see his artwork up there on the wall, and you know there's a little motivational, inspirational family quotes there. And I think that's a really important thing to do too, is like to surround yourself with positive imagery. Um, you know, so I have like pictures of my son at my desk that are like from when he was a baby to like up until now, and now like I'm putting all his drawings on there. I got all of my dad stuff, and I have a note that says my reason why. Like it's just something that simple, my reason why. And on my fridge, I have the note with the pictures all around him that says, "Remember what you're going through all of this for." And the reason why I say that is because the reason why I wrote this book is that, first of all, it's dedicated to my son, because I want him to be able to know my legacy, and I want him to know where Dad came from. And honestly, there's a lot of topics in there that are too heavy to share with a little kid. So when he's old enough to read it, he can read it and see the stuff that Dad went through. But you know, I'm creating a legacy, and like I want him to understand that the things I've gone through have motivated me to become the man I am today. And like my son is so motivational to me because there's so many days I wake up and I'm like, I don't think I could do today. And then I look at my phone and there's a picture of me and him. And sometimes I think when you walk by those kind of stuff and you surround yourself with it, that you can find inspiration from just little tokens. That's why I think it's really important, especially if you're a single dad and you're watching this, that like if you're able to put up stuff like this in your house, like that stuff can push you through the hardest days. And I look back on it and like I don't know how I got through it. I just took it one day at a time, and I prayed, and you know I told God, I was like, just guide me to where you need to be. You know, I did share that one chapter of the book on last week, I think. Kind of just going through my faith, and basically how I got here is through faith alone. Like I trusted God. Like you know, there was things being said about me, and you know, it was hard to go through those and listen to the stuff that's being said. But you know, at the end of the day, I knew who I was, and I knew that God knew who I was, and I knew when I got to a certain point, if people were still saying bad things about me, that like eventually the consistency that I did would show up in my son. And when you do that, like you can't be corrupted. You know, I think about this one thing I heard in church, and I was like, evilness doesn't have the ability to create. Evilness only has the ability to corrupt. And if you allow yourself to be strong emotionally, physically, spiritually, you can't be corrupted. So like things can be said about you. You can feel like the world's against you and people are saying things about you, and you just have to be strong and know who your true self is, because that's the stuff that's going to get you through those hard times. And coming from a person that's taken from experience, if you keep a positive attitude and you treat your children right when you're with them and you stay consistent with that, and that's the only focus you have is, I'm going through this battle. When I'm with my child, I'm 100% focused. When I go to work, I'm 100% focused because I want to be able to enjoy the time I have with him when I'm not at work. And that's what you need to find your motivation. And, you know, my motivation was my son. And I continue to wake up every day and I continue to chug away and I continue to grind because of my son. And I really wanted to write this book because I'm a firm believer that, you know, being in the military and having like this code and this ethic and these values, like I think a true leader will go through things, and when he goes through those things, he'll turn around and help the man that's behind him. And I talk about this all the time, but like when I first became a single dad, there just wasn't the resources out there that would help build men up to be the best versions of themselves. You know, I see all the same content. Like, you know, like I go online, I go on the single dad forums and stuff, and it's men bashing their baby mama or like doing whatever. And I can tell you, I sat in that seat and I felt the anger, and I felt the anger towards me. And you just have to find a way to be positive, you know. I read one of the comments I had on one of my videos was about like the number one thing that toxic men do is, you know, they blame their baby mamas. And like one was like a video about, or it was a post about a guy blaming or saying that he was sorry to his kids that he chose that woman to be their mother. And I'm like a firm believer that like we can have this animosity towards our exes, towards our baby mamas, as some people might call them, but the children that we love more than anything are a direct result because of the woman we chose to procreate with. Like, that's like the one thing I want people to soak in is like the child that you love, the one that you're fighting all this stuff for, the one that you're watching these videos for, that child only exists because of that woman. Like, you take any other scenario, you take any other equation, and your child's not the same person. You know, and I think about that for myself. Like, when I look back at my life, like, I shouldn't be here. Like, for my parents to get together and, like, the messed up stuff that they were and, like, the stuff that they went through and even the scenarios in which they came to be. You know, having two parents that were mentally ill, and for somehow them be mentally ill at the same time and meet at a group home and then have me and my brother, and then for me to be where I am today, and become the person I am. But I was only able to become that person because of these two people coming together. And that's what I want to paint the picture to people is like, I think once I restarted reframing it that way, like I went to a mindset of gratitude rather than anger. You know, things were bad for a long time. You know, we were in a four-year battle, and eventually the consistency stayed there. I kept showing up when I said I was going to show up. I did the things I needed to do for my son, and I was consistent. And your consistency has the ability to outweigh and outlast any negative things. And now I have an amazing co-parenting relationship. And if you would have told me that a couple years ago, I would have laughed at you. I said, like, there's no way. So things do get better. As a man, like, we need to control what we can control. I tell people, I'm like, you are never gonna change an opinion in the moment, at least in a positive way. There's no rationale, there's no excuse, there's no conversation, there's no speech that you can give that is going to change somebody to think something positive of you. Now, on the contrary, you can ruin everything in a moment. You can flip out, you can swear, you can have an act of violence, you can do whatever, and you can sabotage everything that you've worked for in an instant. But you're never going to change anything positive in an instant. Like, you can make slow changes that will add up to where you want to be, but you can't change them all in a moment. So you just got to be consistent, and that's one of the things I talk about in my book is like finding a way to become that person has paid dividends. And I'm coming from somebody that has lived in your shoes and has experienced the things that you experience, and I just want to be a positive influence for the men out there, for even the women out there that have gone through this stuff, knowing that you can come out to their side, and you might not have had a great life, and you might not have had great circumstances or had a good upbringing, but the stuff that you went through, that's just stuff that you went through. It's not who you are. Like, I went through all that stuff, and I came out the other side. Do I have some issues? Yes, but it's nothing I can't overcome. And what truly inspired me was, my son turned 8 on the 12th, and we went kayaking, and doing something like that with my dad when I was a kid was just something that wouldn't happen. And to be out on that peaceful, calm lake, listening to music, rowing the kayak, a beautiful sunny day, the beautiful glistening sun off the water, and just being grateful in the moment. And, seeing my son and looking in his eyes and seeing the joy in his heart and just the happiness that he has. Like, that was something that was so far away from me as a kid at his age. Like, at his age, I was already corrupted. And to get to a place where you see the things that you went through and you see your child thriving and them becoming a version that you wish you could have been, I think there's something very profound about that, and there's something really healing about that. And I just, I was overwhelmed with this joy and this happiness from seeing my son be so happy. Like, I can understand, like, now, like, I see those videos of, like, men crying at, like, their children's graduation, or, like, them accomplishing any feat, or, like, a sports moment, and, like, even something as small as a smile and, like, the joy in his eyes, like, that made me feel that way, and I was like, I need to write my story, I need him to know, and I just, I started on the Monday after that, and literally every day I was writing like 3 to 4 chapters, and I finished like a week and a half later. I wrote my whole entire memoir, and it was just dumping thoughts into like a Word document. I had I preset the chapters I wanted to write about, and I kind of made a linear story of like life events and what occurred in those events. And basically each chapter is going through the event, looking at it from the spectrum of a person that's where I am now, looking back on what had to happen then and what did happen, and tying it to where I grew as a person, as a man, and how it made me grow as a father, and the reflective nature of going through those situations. Obviously, I put some levity in there, and I have a lot of jokes and stuff that will kind of break up the serious stuff in it, and I think that kind of brings my voice in. So, getting all those words out there, and then completing my memoir, it was pretty emotional. And then I went to the store, I printed it out, and it was like 285 pages, and like going to pick up a book that you wrote is the craziest thing. Like, I've officially I've officially wrote more books, more 200-page books than I've read. I mean, obviously I had to read books in college, so like I had to read those, but like books I read on purpose, no, I've never. I mean, obviously I read the Bible, but like to sit down and read a whole book, no. So I've officially read. I feel like Rob Gronkowski, and they're like, Have you written more books than you've read?" And I'm like, "That's me." So, but I think the funny part is like, I got my red pen here, um, and I started like the first couple chapters, and like I legit have so many lines of red on it, and like just changed so much. Um, but I wanted to give it that genuine voice of my experience and my words. So I've been going through with a fine tooth comb, and basically just breaking down each chapter, expanding on things, making things more clear, making it more of a story, and basically my goal is to. I want when you're reading my book, I want you to feel like you're actually there. I want you to feel like you can smell it. I want you to feel like you can see it. Like, I want you to feel like, basically the way I describe it is I want it to be like, if you've seen A Christmas Story, I want it to be like Ebenezer Scrooge. Like when he goes in the past with the ghost of Christmas past and the ghost of Christmas present. Like that's what I want my book to be. Like I want me to be taking you back into my life and showing you exactly what is happening. And I want you to be able to actually feel and understand how I became the person I am today. And I think that the first, I've gotten 6 chapters reviewed and revised, and I actually just edited another chapter last night because I was like, this is too long, I need to expand on this, and then it's been a process, let's just say that. I got through the first 4 chapters pretty easily, and then I got to the 5th chapter, which is like 12 pages. Which is pretty long compared to the other ones, because the other ones are like 2 or 3 pages. So I got to like page 2, and last night it took me like 4 hours to review this one part. I just kept like expanding on, and then I would read it, and then I would write it. And the crazy part about this whole process is like there's stuff I knew of all these things. Like I knew like this happened here, and this happened there. I knew that happened there, but like to write them down and be able to connect dots, like it's crazy. Like literally the one story is like, so my brother passed away, and I started kindergarten, and I remember I got held back in kindergarten, and forever I'm like, I felt like an idiot because I failed kindergarten, or I got held back in kindergarten. But when I went back and looked at the timeline, like I'm pretty open about these stories on my channel, so I'm not giving anything away. But like I had an identical twin, and he passed away. And when I was writing these stories, like I was like, holy shit! Like my brother literally passed away in June, and I started kindergarten in September. So in 3 months, I lost my brother, started kindergarten. And I was 4, so I was young for kindergarten. So like stuff like that, like these things, like you remember them in silos, but then like when you put up like this vision board and you put up like a timeline and you start connecting the dots, like things start to piece together that you just didn't realize. And like even a lot of things I'm angry about of my childhood, like I would start, like when I'd write them down, like I would start thinking about them, and then I'd start like thinking about like here, and then like the lines would connect, and like in some ways it makes me more angry. And you honestly, like reading those stories back had me super emotional, like because like I said, I knew all those things separately, but like to actually put them in written form and spell them out and like put the reader actually in those scenarios, like I'm not gonna lie, it's been emotional. And Like I didn't expect to feel that thing. Like I was literally in tears the other day reading back my own chapter of my own life. Like I think that's powerful, and like I'm not writing this to play the victim, because at no point do I have the victim mentality. Like I'm telling you how I went through the situation. I'm telling you how I felt. I'm telling you how that situation felt. But then I'm telling you how I was able to pull myself out because of that. So really, I want you guys to read the book, and I hope you guys get something out of it when it finally does get published. My goal is to finish the review and the edits. My goal is to do a chapter a day. I do have a couple chapters that are pretty long, and those might take me a couple days each. So my hope is to finish by the end of August would be my goal, to have a full manuscript, and then my goal is to pitch it and write a proposal to some publishers, and hopefully get it published by the fall. And I guess the way I really want to paint it is like, I think when you talk about your own traumas in your life, it's hard to talk about them with people, because when you talk about your traumas with people feel sympathetic for you, and they don't feel empathetic for you, they feel sympathetic. And I think when people start feeling sorry for you, the way they perceive you, the way they act around you is completely different. And I don't feel like in this book at all that like it doesn't come off as the same energy. Like literally my goal for this is for those who are going through the things I've experienced or that I have experienced, and they've gone through some of those. My goal is that the person that reads the book feels seen. Like they feel like their story matters, the things that happened to them mattered, and that they have a way of bringing out. And honestly, I think having this platform, obviously I'm still a smaller YouTube channel. Like I think right now I have 554 subscribers. And I've built that over the course of since last August. And like it's been growing slowly, and the community's been building. But my goal is to have this be the anchor of my community. Like I want you to be able to buy my book, pick it up, read it, and then have me go on a live stream or have me go make a podcast, and you guys can bring up anything in real time, and you can have a real community behind you of like-minded people that can give you their stories, can give you their encouragement, what they did, what was successful for them. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, numbers don't matter to me. Like, do I want my channel to be successful? Yes, because that means if I'm successful, it means I can help somebody, and it means that I've made a connection. And for that basis, that's why it's important for me to be able to build this channel, because the more people I can reach, the more people that need this kind of advice and this kind of info is what's going to help people, men, women, parents, survivors, become the best versions of themselves. So that's the pitch of the book. I'll give little insights moving forward, but I kind of wanted to outline where I am in that process, what I've learned in this time, and then where I want to go. So I guess for the purpose of this podcast, my goal is to start having guests on, and like I want to hit very specific topics and very important topics that don't get talked about a lot. Being a stepdad, being a father, being someone that went through stuff, that wants to be a good father but didn't have a positive role model. Like I want to talk to those men. I want to be able to help those men become the best versions of themselves, again, so that the child can have the best life that they can. Because sometimes the best success we can have is watching our children become successful. So again, the goal is, there's probably gonna be a couple more episodes like this where it's just me talking, having these long conversations. But I'm already starting to have conversations with people that might want to be on. And if you guys have any suggestions of any YouTubes that you guys watch that you think that might be a good fit for me to have conversations with, feel free to drop them down in the comments. I'm always willing to expand my horizons. You know, I've done a couple podcasts with the Call with Dads group, and there's been a lot of good information with them. And honestly, being able to network and talk with like-minded men is important, and I think it's important for men to be able to see those kind of things out there. So if you guys know some people that are kind of like-minded like me, that have like similar goals and stuff, please drop it down below. I stay away from a lot of the political based stuff, so anything that's like super far right or super far left, that might not be a good match. But I'm always willing to look at other people, because I think that we can learn a lot from people that are different than us, whether it be religious ways, ethnic backgrounds, the way we look. I don't think any of that stuff really matters. I think the more we can have conversations with each other is the better. And honestly, like doing the live chats, I've had a good opportunity to talk to a different mix of people, and I'm grateful for those. So I guess that's where we'll lead off today. My goal is to get this expanded on, hopefully do an episode a week, and hopefully make some connections and help you guys and build this thing and let you know about the book. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you like this video, please like, please share, please subscribe. I also did get a partnership this week with Overland, OVRLND. I did partner with them, so I do have their link down in the description for this podcast. They're basically an overlanding company, and a lot of their stuff aligns with some of my values. You know, I do the veterans, canines for veterans, and that's important to me. And having a Jeep Grand Cherokee and doing like the off-roading stuff with my son, I think it's a good cause. And they give away some cool cars too. So if you want to check them out, click the link below. Enter to win one of their contests. I do get commission off any of the leads that I do pull and you guys buy, so I do want to be transparent about that. They pay me 15% of whatever you guys pay, so that helps grow the channel and helps me do this work, because honestly, I do a lot of work. I do a lot of thinking about the contents of these videos, and it is a second full-time job. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. I'll pray for all of you that are going through a tough time. If you're going through something, you want me to pray for you, put it down in the chat or below in the comments, and I will pray for you. Until next week, until my next dad jokes, we'll see you in the next one, and may God bless you and your families.